It is TexAgs Rewind. I'm David Nuno. He's Billy Liucci, and it's much more fun to do this after a victory. Hello, Billy.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Gosh, what a difference a week makes.
My whole week was cloudy last week. It was just it got better each day, but it still was, especially when you lose the way they lost. This week, they took the game, I think, to Miami. They were the better team, and it could have been better.
The word I used was game control. And I'm not worried about this could have been better. I mean, let's not. Let's not feel the need to appease every. I know that's not what but people want us to. They want to agree with us. Yeah, of course it could have been better. But the key thing here is they won. Mm-hmm. They beat the number 13 team in the country. And whether you think they're 13th best or not, if they would have beaten A&M, they'd probably move into the top 10-ish, and everyone's raving about the U being back and stuff. A&M beats them now. We're saying, well, they probably weren't the number bull crap. They're the number 13 team. They came into Kyle Field. The Aggies down a dozen players, literally an even dozen players by halftime, held on, won the game. Really impressive, did exactly what they needed to do. And there goes Olin.
Yeah, there he goes. Hey, there he is. So we talked about that and what that means moving forward. We also had OB on the show with Overreaction Monday. And Tom Hart of the SEC Network gave us his thoughts on the Aggies, and then he turned the question to us. What were some of the things that we were happy about? That's all next here on TexAgs Rewind.
Throughout August, we talked about what you needed from your quarterback first. The first thing you needed was a quarterback that would not turn the ball over or make big blunders, and he took care of the ball. First and foremost, he took care of the ball, and he took advantage of some things that were there. All right, there's where you start.
Yeah,
keep doing that, and then see if you can't add some big plays later. But you can win against a ranked team if you're with that defense and a quarterback that's not giving it away.
How different does this game look? And we haven't gotten into the freshmen for being suspended. But if those freshmen are playing, there's at least 2 or 3 plays extra. There's more scoring in this game, I've got to believe, because of the separation that Evan Stewart brings and I think Chris Marshall brings.
I would like to think so. I would like to think that, again, if Miami, especially in the fourth quarter, if they're going to be stacking the box like they were, that you would have the more of ability to play action and get behind them.
Yeah.
I saw A&M receivers constantly well covered, with the exception of Anais on a couple of slants. Was there ever a pass thrown where the guy looked open?
No.
Yeah. So, they got to get some separation.
Miami had some drops too, so they had their issues. When I look at the receiving core, 4 different guys caught a pass for Texas A&M. Anais with 4, A-Chain with 4, then Donovan Green with 1, and Chase Lane with 1.
And that was a nice play by Max on Donovan Green's catch.
Uh-huh.
He's under pressure, knows where his check down is. He gets it, and Donovan Green can run. I want to see more of him.
I do too.
Actually, I thought when he was in there, I thought he did a good job blocking.
Mm-hmm.
I think Donovan Green's ready to play.
He is ready to play.
Play a lot.
He's been showing that. Some other notes on the stat line that I just caught out there. Obviously, Devon A-Chain, he has not hit the 100-yard mark yet. He was certainly on his way in the first half. Average, I believe it was 7.1 yards per carry in the first half. He entered just under 5. He finished 18 carries, 88 yards, and then on the receiving end, 4 catches, 42 yards.
I would hope that A&M would get to a point where when Devon gets a couple of good runs, then use him as a decoy. Because I saw him at one juncture against Miami. He has a nice run, and then he has another nice run, and then Miami's just so focused on it. The next game, he loses like a couple. And what a time to, let your quarterback keep it or play actions, because he's still A&M's primary and in some cases only weapon.
Yeah. Yep.
Max in the past was a quarterback who, when he got pressured, his brain just started moving a little too fast. He made some decisions, and this happens to all quarterbacks, right? I mean, this is why coordinators dial up pressure. But you get in their face, you rush them, they start making ill-advised throws. The great quarterbacks and the elite ones, the great quarterbacks don't get bothered by pressure. The elite quarterbacks find a release against the pressure and take advantage of it. And so I think that makes the O-line play so much more important for him because he's not a guy who's going to tuck the ball and run and make big plays. Wasn't it the Clemson game a couple of years ago? Kellen got sacked like 9 times in that early season game, the game at Clemson.
At Clemson. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, listen, good quarterbacks against pressure are going to have issues. So I just think the O-line play is so very, very important to this team. A-Chain looked really good, didn't he? I mean, especially I just saw the stat, 56 of his 88 rushing yards came after first contact.
Wow.
That to me is a guy who is not as easy to bring down as he may look and is going to run with the want to that you just kind of described that you were looking for from the whole team.
Yeah.
Like that dude's out there battling. He's not just superior athletically.
Tom, what did you learn from the Florida-South Florida game? That was the game you were at, right?
Yeah. And Florida's going to have its hands full against Tennessee this weekend. Anthony Richardson against Utah looked like the next coming of Cam Newton, Terrell Pryor, take your pick, big quarterbacks that can run. But they haven't run him really because they're afraid of the depth behind him, the lack of depth behind him. No touchdowns, 4 interceptions so far. He's got a long way to go, whereas Hendon Hooker's 6 touchdowns, no picks. And, Hooker's kind of turning into the darling here in the SEC. We talked about him last week, I think. Very, very high floor, and he's expanding his ceiling with each game. I think since he's taken over as a starter for Tennessee, 42 touchdowns, 2 picks. Wow. So he's a guy that doesn't make mistakes. Florida looked outmatched by a South Florida team that got blown out by BYU and struggled in a half against Howard. It's just another reminder that in college football, the sample size is so small that we can't help, fans, media, everybody, we can't help but overreact to the result each week when we really should focus on a big picture and more of the process. It's just hard to see week in and week out, right? It's really hard. You got to have a crystal ball or something. I think Florida is going to be a very average team this year. And that, to me, that Tennessee matchup is going to be probably a coming out party for Tennessee because they get the national stage again with game day going to Knoxville. A good opportunity for them.
Yeah, that's one of the first questions we have to ask because were we ever told how long the suspension was for? I'm assuming it was one game.
I assume a game, yeah.
But we got to find that out for sure. So would I be considered overreacting? Because maybe on Overreaction Monday, I don't know if I'm overreacting or not, if I am alarmed and raising the red flags at the linebacker play in the run defense.
Yeah.
So my overreaction, I guess, is that I went back last night and watched the game again, and I was focused on linebacker play, and I saw guys sometimes running themselves away from the hole, not even reading, just and a lot of that's why you saw so many DBs making tackles. I thought as good as Tyler Van Dyke is supposed to be, and he does have a heck of an arm, that when he passed, it was actually almost a gift to A&M because at least they weren't running.
Yep, they weren't running. I am worried about it, especially knowing what Arkansas does well. KJ Jefferson can run, the backfield can run. They got a physical offensive line. Hopefully, we see a different approach. Because like with Miami, you kind of expect them to pass because you got Tyler Van Dyke. Yes, they're trying to get back to more of a conventional offense. I know that's what Cristobal wants to do.
And what worries me is that KJ Jefferson may not be as accomplished a passer as Van Dyke, but he's a good passer. However, when it comes to running, he's light years ahead of him. Now, all that said, I'm not going to hoist up the white flag because I never surrender.
Sure.
But I'm having to raise a little red flag about the run defense.
to have a successful season, they're going to have to win more. But I didn't think there was a path to it losing on Saturday night. I didn't think if they lost to Miami, I just didn't see the recovery coming, especially when you throw in the 4 suspensions and the week that was and the game that was a week ago and what lies ahead and the way that locker room would have been and the way that crowd turned out to support. I just think this was one of the 2 most pivotal games that Jimbo's had. The last one was Florida, and you saw how it went after that. So hopefully we see a similar response from this team. But that Miami game I would put up there with Florida. You had people kind of lining up, ready to, deliver the message that A&M and Jimbo Fisher did not work, and this is why. And, now the Aggies win. They get a lot of good pub this weekend. You beat a traditional college football power at home in front of God knows how many recruits, a lot of 5-star guys from across multiple classes. That atmosphere was absolutely unmatched. So because of all that, I do think it was top 3 win for Jimbo since he's been here. I would say Florida. I would say Alabama's obviously won, but I would say Florida, Bama, and now this, even ahead of the Orange Bowl. I think this one was more the Orange Bowl was more historic, and A&M needed to break through that ceiling and win in a New Year's Six. But this was a bigger win. It was more important for what lies ahead, in my opinion, and because of also what would have happened if you lost. The swing that took place when the defense goes out and gets that 4-down stop at the end of the game, the swing that took place with how the program was perceived, and maybe it's just for a week, but I don't think so. I think it's something they can build on. I'm not saying that guarantees them to beat Arkansas Saturday, but I don't think they're beating Arkansas off a 2-game losing streak with all that was going on.
Sure.
I do think they have a legitimate shot, and we'll talk more about that game this weekend, but they had to beat Miami, and they came out and they beat them. And what I liked most about it, David, is how badly they looked like they wanted it. And that encouraged me.
Yesterday on Luchador, you kind of gave us a glimpse into what the offense has done dating back some time. I did some research. I wrote some numbers down for you.
Okay.
I'm going to kind of go through it for you. So against Power 5 teams, their last several games. Versus Miami, 264 yards of total offense, 2 touchdowns, A-Chain, L.J. Johnson. App State, 189 total yards of offense, 2 touchdowns. 1 was offensive, the other was a special team. So
1.
Right? LSU, not as bad as I initially thought. 296 yards of total offense, 3 touchdown passes.
That's why I left. Yeah. I left that one out. I left South Carolina out. I left out Missouri. Those in Alabama. Those are the 4 good games. Go through. I'm interested, but there's going to be 4 of them.
Ole Miss, 378 total yards of offense, 2 touchdowns. Devon A-Chain, 24-yarder, and then at the very end, a 9-yarder.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
The offense was shut down for a lot of that game.
Versus Auburn, the actual total yards of offense weren't that bad. 0 offensive touchdowns, but 409 yards of total offense.
0 touchdowns. Move on.
In their last 5 Power 5 games, they have 8 offensive touchdowns. 2 versus Miami, 1 against App State, 3 against LSU, 2 versus Ole Miss, 0 against Auburn. You just literally broke your headphone case.
Oh.
It's over. You know what you're supposed to do on that? You're supposed to walk away from the screen, like, comment, subscribe, share, and anything else you want to add to that?
No, David, you already covered all of it. What else is there for me to say?
I don't know. Maybe I thought you'd say something witty, make fun of me. Or
I just did. That's what that was.
That was?
I mean, make fun. Well, it was kind of both, yeah.
But you see how I took it away from you by asking a follow-up question? I took away
I'm
this
complimentary today. I already complimented your hair.
You did.
It's going to be a compliment. You don't need to just grease it up every day. That looks good.
I don't grease it up very often.
You gel it up like you're like a member of the T-Birds.
I have not gelled since 1986.
Like you're like Kaniki over here.
I do some pomade, which, by the way, you've borrowed.
Didn't like it.
You
didn't
loved
get
it.
a lot of compliments after Feinbaum that day.
Really?
They said I look like, Kaniki. I'm trying to think of Danny Zuko.
Danny Zuko's.
I forgot you're not a big Grease guy. You're not a fan of the movie.
That movie was not fun. I watched it in like 1981.
You can't say Grease was not fun. You could say you didn't like it.
I didn't
if it's
like it.
anything, it's fun.
Lethal Weapon. That was fun.
Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
Original wasn't bad. The rest of them.
Leo Getz. That was my guy. Joe Pesci.
Pretty good. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
disagree with you.
All right, we're done.
All right.